Hello everyone, our today's lecture is on electricity. So electricity is used by everyone. We all know to plug in our phones, to switch on television, for refrigeration, for switching on various electrical appliances, electricity is being used by everyone for their day-to-day purposes. How it all started, how electricity was introduced in the world. So let's see the history of electricity. In 1600, William Gilbert was the first person who described static electricity. Now, why I am talking about static electricity? Static means when charges are at rest. And the other version of electricity is dynamic electricity. This means the charges are in motion. Static charges are at rest and dynamic charges in motion. Then in 1759, Benjamin Franklin discovered that lightning is electrical in nature. The thunder lightning that we see in the clouds during the rainy season, that is actually due to electricity, the phenomena of static electricity. Then in 1879, Thomas Edison produced a reliable long-lasting electric bulb in his laboratory. That was the very first application of electricity as a appliance or as a equipment that is being used by everyone nowadays. Then what are the types of charges that are involved in producing electricity? There are basically, as you can see here, two types of charges. Positive charge, from where you can see these are the electric field lines. And the orientation of electric field lines from positive charges they are actually going away from the positive charges. So positive charge acts as a source for electric field lines, whereas negative charge, shown by a symbol minus, it acts as a sink for the electric field lines. So this charge is called proton or positive charge, this is called electron. These are the two types of subatomic particles. The mass of electron is much more lower than the mass of proton. So positive charge is heavier than the negative charge. And these are the figures. The mass of electron is equal to 9.1 times 10 to the power minus 31 kilograms, whereas mass of proton is 1.67 times 10 to the power minus 27 kilograms. So these two charges are being involved for the flow of current and to produce electricity. And it's present in all the material. Any matter is comprising of a positive and a negative charge, that makes it to be a neutral in nature. What are the units of charges? The standard international unit of charge is coulomb, represented by a symbol capital C, whereas the CGS, centimeter gram second unit of charge, is electrostat unit, represented by E.S.U, and the conversion from coulomb to stat coulomb is 1 coulomb is equal to 3 times 10 to the power plus 9 stat coulombs, and value of elementary charge is plus minus 1.602 times 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. Positive sign represents a positive charge and negative sign represents the negative charge. This means the value of elementary charge is equivalent for both positive and negative charge. The only thing that varies is the sign depending on the type of charge. How can we classify the solids on the basis of electricity conduction? Here are the three classification types. The first is insulators. This means they are actually classified on the basis of their band gap, or how narrow or how wide is the band gap between the two bands, valence band and conduction band. When the band gap is much more higher than 6 electron volt or 5 electron volt, it termed as insulators, or band gap is too wide such that electrons cannot jump from valence band to conduction band at normal room temperature. Those are called insulators. When band gap is quite smaller, but still there is a band gap between valence band and conduction band, that material is termed to be semiconductors. The electrons can flow from valence band to conduction band when some heating is provided, or at some even at room temperature too. But in the case of conductors, as you can see in the figure, there are more electrons in the conduction band rather in the valence band, because there is no band gap, or we can say the conduction band and valence band are actually overlapping with each other. So there is easy transmission of charge carriers, that electrons, from valence band to conduction band. Now you must all be thinking that why we are talking about electrons and negative charges and not about the positive charges. Because in the flow of current, electrons are involved. Positive charges are actually, they remain fixed at their own positions. They are never being dislocated. But electrons do move, they are in motion all the time, and depending on their motion, we define the current and various other things. So, what is the definition of conductor? Any material that allows electric current to pass through it is termed as conductor. Examples are copper, aluminium, steel, or any metal, any metallic piece like silver, gold. It's termed to be conductor. Whereas insulator is any material that does not allow electric current to pass through it, like any protective coating or sheath on the wires that we see in our homes. So examples, as we can see in the figure, plastic, rubber, glass, cloth, or wood. We all know we were told to hold wood when we were touching some kind of electrical appliance, because wood does not conduct electricity. It just breaks the circuit and it prevents us from various electric shocks. So wood is a kind of insulator. So let's study the properties of charges. How does the charges behave? First is quantization of charges. As you can see from the equation, Q, capital Q, that total charge is equal to plus minus depending on positive charge or negative charge, n times E, where n is an integer which changes from 1, 2, 3 and so on, and small e is the charge of an electron, equal to 1.6 times 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. So charge produced due to transfer of electron is always an integral multiple of charge of an electron. Whatever the charge produced, it will be always an integral multiple of this particular magnitude. Whether it multiply 1, 2, 3, it will always the integral times of this elementary charge value. So that is called as quantization of charges. It cannot be a rational number, it's always an integer. Second property is conservative nature of charges. Charge can neither be created nor destroyed, so the total charge remains conserved. This phenomena of conservation of charge is seen in frictional electricity, pair production, and nuclear reactions also. As we can see, like in our nuclear physics, the nuclear reactions, we always try to balance the charges on both the sides. Then only those nuclear reactions are permitted in nature, else they are not. If total charge is not conserved, if charges on the right hand side of the equation or on the left hand side of the equation are not equal, or they are not producing a sum equal to 0, then actually it's not valid equation, or it's not permitted in nature. So equation which shows the conservative nature of charge is Q1 plus Q2 is equal to 0. Total charge remains conserved. If we have a value of plus 3Q and minus 2Q, or plus 3Q and the other will be minus 3Q, then total charge will come out to be equal to 0. So this shows the conservative nature of charges. Next comes the additivity property of charges. The total charge possessed by a body is the algebraic sum of all charges present on it. This is the way how we calculate the total charge on the surface of a matter. For example, let's suppose the first body is having minus 3Q charge on its surface, and the second body is having plus 2Q charge on its surface. Then how do we calculate total charge? Total charge is given by a summation of both these two charges. This is which is equal to minus 3Q plus 2Q is equal to minus Q charge. This is the net charge enclosed by a body or possessed by a body. This is how the additivity property of charges work. Now, how the charge differs from mass? There are so many similarities. Both have properties of matter. Every matter possesses charges, every matter possesses a mass. Both obey inverse square law of interaction. As you can see from the Coulomb's law of interaction, F is equal to K Q1 Q2 by R square, and the gravitational law F is equal to G capital G M1 M2 by R square. So both are actually obeying the inverse square law interaction that you can you will be seeing in the further slides that how these laws are being governed and how they are actually working. And both are scalar quantities. Scalar means which only considers the magnitude and not the direction. Our charges are also concerned about the magnitude. Even masses are also concerned about magnitude. There is no direction component involved. Both are scalar in nature. What are the differences? How can we differentiate the charge from the mass? The very first point is electric charge may be positive or negative, whereas mass is only one kind. It's only a positive. Electric charge is strictly conserved, but mass is not conserved. Magnitude of charge is independent of velocity, but we can see from physics relativity or general theory of relativity, from the special theory of relativity, the relativity unit that we will going to study in the future, the magnitude of mass depends on velocity, which gives equation, which is given by the equation m, that is mass in motion, is equal to m naught upon under root 1 minus v square by c square, where m naught is the rest mass, m is the mass in motion, and v is the velocity with which the mass is moving, and c is the speed of light. So magnitude of mass is actually depending on velocity. As the v value will vary, the m value will also get varied. So with the movement, with the body in motion, the value of mass gets changed. The fourth point is charge is quantized in nature, but mass is not quantized. The last point is force between charges can be attractive or repulsive because charges are positive and negative. If they are like charges, they are going to repel each other. If we have different charges, they are they are going to attract each other. Positive, negative forces are attractive forces, whereas negative or positive, between them there will be a repulsive force. But force between masses is always attractive in nature. That you can see you will be studying the gravitation unit, how they are attractive in nature. So from the all that we have studied, let's see have a look at the numerical that is solved for you, and I am going to give you further questions that you can solve from your side. Find the total number of electrons and their charge in a bundle of electrons having total mass 1 kilogram. So here we have the value for 1 kg we have to find out the total number of electrons for 1 kg mass. The mass of an electron is 9.1 times 10 power minus 31 kg. So 1 kg of mass will be enclosing how many electrons? By using unitary method, we get this value 1 upon 9.1 times 10 to the power minus 31 electrons. The total charge by using the law of quantization, the quantization nature of charges, Q is equal to N times E. By using that equation, we can get, as we have N equal to this value, 1 upon 9.1 times 10 power minus 31, and small e value is the standard or it's a fixed value constant, 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. The total charge enclosed by a body of 1 kilogram mass is given by Q is equal to N times E. So we get this equation solved. So in the next lecture, we will be continuing our further topics. Thank you.